Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 73. I am your host, Brent Stewart. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I am the Chandler.
And today we are talking about the Highlander Part B. So continuing on with this 90-ton assault mech that is known for stepping on its enemies.
You know, I find it kind of troublesome that on the Highlander we're doing 2 episodes. We all know there can only be
There can only be one.
Like, complete aside, I have like a very soft spot in my heart for the Highlander TV show, which
Me
is
too.
absolutely camp and ridiculous, but it's great. I mean, there's just such stupid stuff in there that you're just like, yeah, sure, of course he pulled a katana out of his like jogging attire.
Should I be worried that I haven't watched it?
No, it's really campy and over the top, but like it's
really fun.
Yeah, it's one of those like have people over when you can have people over, get some beers and just watch a bunch of it and laugh at it. You know,
I used to watch it when I was doing homework in college.
Next question, should I watch it after I finish watching Doctor Who?
Yes, you should watch it.
Yeah, probably. So our first model today is the HGN-736, seen in 3060. So quite a jump in time from the last model, which was all the way back in 2866. But this model is the newest one on the block in some time, and it has the movement profile of 353. It's got an improved C3 in the right torso. It's got the 2 medium lasers in the right torso, an LRM-20 with an Artemis 4 in the left torso. It's got the Gauss rifle in the right arm and a Streak 4 in the left arm. It's got 10 double heat sinks, Pharaoh, and 1 ton of ammo for the SRMs, 2 tons of ammo for the LRMs, and 2 tons of ammo for the Gauss rifle. There is unfortunately a case only in the left torso to protect that side. No protection in case that Gauss rifle goes off.
Yeah. Good job, Comstar, for upgrading the 732 into this.
Mm-hmm.
You done did good, kids. You done did good.
Yeah. Now if we can just get a 736 W2 for the standard C3 networks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's coming up, don't worry. Actually, no, it's not. I lied. That's an experimental model.
So the battle value for this guy is 2255 and a point value of 55. And this guy is very much keeping in line with the tradition, except it now has that C3, so it can hand out or receive data. Probably wants to receive the data more than hand it out, you know?
Yeah, with that Gauss rifle and LRM-20, especially since the LRM-20 has Artemis, you really want to be receiving targeting data and then hammering people from long range.
Mm-hmm. So next up we have the 694, seen 2 years later in 3062. And this is the first one that goes backwards in number, which is a little interesting. And what is also interesting is it doesn't jump. It's got a movement profile of 3.5. In the center torso / left torso, it has a heavy Gauss. In the right torso, it's got 2 large lasers. And in the right arm, it's got a Gauss regular. It's got endo steel for its bones, it has a light fusion engine, and it has case in the left torso and right torso to protect it. It's got 3 tons of Gauss ammo in the right torso and 4 tons of heavy Gauss ammo in the left arm. Oh, and 10 double heat sinks.
The Lyrans, they knew what they wanted to do, which was have a very large gun, followed by other large guns, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
This is definitely a Highlander, but it doesn't feel like a Highlander the way the other ones do, you know?
It's just surprising after all of the re-engineering you had to put into that. Like, what other mech could have you just redesigned to make that do what you wanted?
The Annihilator.
Like, there has to be other 90-ton assault mechs that the Lyrans had that could do what this, like the Cyclops would have been a great example of something that could do this.
I mean, the Banshee could as well.
Yeah, the Banshee. There's so many other mechs that probably would have been easier for them to modify to do this. But
I mean, I do like that it has Endo Steel now, because normally we've seen Pharaoh, but Endo, it's nice to see on this machine at the very least.
Yeah.
It's also a much more efficient use of weight-saving equipment. Endo Steel gives you a lot more saved tonnings than Pharaoh does.
Mm-hmm. But of course, in universe, Endo is always backlogged quite a bit, so it's hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to produce Endo Steel because you need 0G production facilities, which Pharaoh fibers you don't. So it's a lot easier to use Pharaoh than it is to use Endo.
Now, this one does have the design quirk of being a prototype, so not going to see a lot of them running around the battlefield. And it has a battle value of 2369 and a point value of 48.
Man, that's a lot of Goss hitting, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing that ammo doesn't explode.
Mm-hmm. Too bad the gun does. So, next up we have the 734, back to the movement profile of 353. Do you want to take it from here?
Sure, why not?
You all know what's coming now.
Is that a hunt? I almost said Hunchback. The Highlander 734, it retains the 270 light engine from the 694, has 14 double heat sinks, so it can sink 28 heat, regains its jump capability like Brent mentioned, so it does move 353, does not have Endo Steel or Ferrofibrous, so it just uses standard armor and structure, but it still keeps the maximized armor value of 279 points. So a lot of armor on this boy. And for its weaponry, it has 2 ER medium lasers in the left arm, 2 Streak SRM-6s in the left torso, with a ton of Streak SRM-6 ammo in that torso with them. You've got a ER large laser in the right torso, a medium pulse laser in the center torso, and then in the right torso and right arm, you've got a LB-20X autocannon with 3 tons of ammunition stored in the left torso, and to protect all those explosive bits in the left torso, you've got a case system. So, explosions, yes, but not horrible explosions.
And you can keep running after one because you have a light engine instead of the XL.
Yeah, you'll keep going. You won't be happy. You'll be missing most of your armament. I really like this one. If I had to choose a Highlander, it does suffer the issue with all the Highlanders for me where it only moves 3-5 on the ground, and I like going 4-6 or faster. It's a great defensive mech.
Yeah.
Especially in a urban setting. This thing is like primed to rip someone's face off in an urban setting because you ditched your LRM system for a ER large laser as your long range weapon, but that can still be used in a close range duel. And then you've got the Streak 6s for finding holes. You've got the LB-20 for breaking armor and then also finding holes later. And you've got ER medium lasers for lighter targets. And you got the pulse laser for, everything.
I mean, I do like that it also has cluster and slugs for the LB-20. That is good to note as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Brent, have you had a chance to see sudsi.com yet? Or .org? sudsi.org. Sian University Data Sciences Institute. One of the listeners, Harris...
This is... Yes. I haven't had a chance to dig into it, but it was on my list of things to look at, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, and I mention it here because the ER large laser... I feel like it's a bit of hate from a lot of people, especially when you compare it to an ER PPC. But if you look at the Sian University data site and you compare the ER large laser with the ER PPC, they're pretty much on par for their heat and tonnage. Like they're very, very much have the same efficiency, and in a lot of cases, the ER large laser is actually more efficient in terms of damage per heat and tonnage than an ER PPC. So it's a really cool data set. I highly recommend looking at it whenever you get a chance.
No, I am clicking at it in the background, and it is very cool and interesting. And I think this is going to be a very good resource for people who are wanting to dig into the meat and potatoes of the numbers and what is the bracket, what do these numbers actually mean, and this is a great visualization of that.
Yep.
The other thing about this Highlander that is pretty sweet, the 734, is well, it just definitely wants to close. It wants to get in nice and close, and we've seen most of them be snipers, which is totally fine. But seeing one that wants to get in real close, aside from the AC-20, is neat.
Well, technically, this guy also has an AC-20.
It's got a LB-20.
They're cousins, very close cousins, first cousins.
Kissing cousins.
No, that's ER pulse lasers and all the that's ER pulse lasers with ER laser.
There you go.
Those are kissing cousins.
So this guy was seen in 3062 and has a battle value of 2214 and a point value of 43. We then come to the 738, seen in 3069, and it has a movement profile of 353. It has a ER medium laser in the head, a Streak SRM-4 in the center torso, a heavy Gauss rifle in the right torso, LRM-15 with Artemis 4 in the left torso, an ER large laser in the right arm, and an ER medium laser in the left arm. It's got 10 double heat sinks and endo steel, as well as case in the left torso to protect all of that ammo that's stored there. Specifically, a ton of Streak SRM-4s, a ton of LRM-15 Artemis, 3 tons of heavy Gauss. Yeah, this is neat. It's weird to have the heavy weapon not in the right arm. Is it still a Highlander if it doesn't have the heavy weapon in the right arm?
I mean, the loadout and movement profile looks right to me, and the right arm still has a semi-main gun in that, or like it really is a main gun in that ER large laser. So yes, I'd say this definitely qualifies as a Highlander to me.
Fair enough. I mean, you did mention the movement profile.
You can definitely see the influences from the rest of the Lyran stable of assault mechs. Like, this definitely is drawing inspiration a bit from the Banshee and the weapon placement.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing about the mobility is the few times I have actually been able to take a Highlander out on the tabletop or Mega Mech, it's great, but its movement is really a hindrance. Like, this is a very slow moving guy, so the ones that have that heavy weapons really are like, this is a great city fighter, because it can do that defense quite well.
Yeah, I think it's not a great mobility, but I think this guy is also good outside of the city because it likes having nice open sight ranges.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's great on every battlefield, but like, that's why it's so particularly powerful in cities, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I still think I would prefer an AC-20 variant in a city, but I'd prefer this in general. Well, I guess it also depends on the kind of city. If it's a very old city with a lot of winding turns and stuff, then yeah, definitely an AC-20. If it's a more planned city with long main boulevards and thoroughfares, this guy can dominate those major lanes in the city, and
he'll have a great line of fire.
Yeah. Thank you.
You also got to remember that the heavy Gauss rifle has twice the minimum range as a regular Gauss rifle.
Yeah, no, but this guy is absolutely great. It's got a battle value of 2413 and a point value of 48. So we then come to the 641-X-2, which is continuing to go down the numerical scale. It's a little interesting, but
I didn't like those numbers anyway.
Yeah, so it's got a movement profile of 353. It's got a C3 slave in the head. It's got an Angel ECM in the right torso, 2 ER medium lasers in the right torso, an MML-7 in the left torso with Artemis 4, Gauss rifle in the right arm, and an MML-7 with Artemis 4 in the left arm. I do like how they have tweaked the art so that the launcher is now appropriate, and if you actually look at the left torso kind of hidden behind the center puffed chest and compare it, you can see that they have also modded the launcher there. It's got 10 double heat sinks, an XL engine, and light ferro, as well as an XL gyro. So fill up every one of those slots. And case 2 in the left torso, which helps a little, I guess.
And in the right arm.
Yes.
Yeah, now we finally have case in the arm, because case 2 is the best case. And
especially in this scenario.
I think it actually helps in the torso because I don't think it blows out the entire torso anymore.
Nah, it just blows out your back armor.
Yeah.
And also does one critical hit instead of ruining it all.
Yeah. Case 2 is good. You should put case 2 if you have a mech with ammo or XL engines. Well, really just ammo, but
this guy's also got 3 tons of LRM and 1 ton of SRM. So definitely wanting to stay at range with this guy.
Well, it's MML, so it has 3 tons of MML ammo, and you can mix and match how you want.
It's got 4 tons of MML ammo, and you can switch between it. It just starts with 3 tons of LRM and 1 ton of SRM.
Yeah, and of course the 2 tons of Gauss in the right torso, because they don't need to be protected by case, because Gauss rifle doesn't explode, or Gauss ammo doesn't explode.
Yeah, I understand why this thing didn't get beyond the experimental stages, because it is a mess of design philosophies.
Oh yeah, but it's kind of beautiful in its messiness.
Like, on one hand, they want it to be survivable, because they got the reinforced structures, so the internals are a lot harder to break, but then you got the XL engine, but then you also have the XL gyro, and you've got the light ferro armor, which would make it easier to have a lot of armor, but then you also reduce your total armor points. But then you also had case 2, which makes it harder to kill. It's a mess. It's a good case study for, like, oh, hey, we want to try out all these technologies, but I don't think this would be something that would end up being produced in its form.
No, probably not.
I love it. I mean, none of its tech is experimental in the Dark Ages or the Ill Clan. It's got really good firepower. So in classic Battletech, its survivability is still kind of weak due to the XL engine and XL gyro. But the way everything converts over to Alpha Strike, this guy's actually got 8 armor and 8 structure due to that reinforced chassis. So it actually is a really tough mech in Alpha Strike with really good firepower. It has C3S, it has Angel, it has Case 2. It's so good. MMLs, yes please. I'll take 2.
I think the only thing that would make this better for you would be replacing the Gauss with dual snubs.
That's pretty much what I was about to say.
No, actually, I'm going to disagree on this one because of the C3 Slave and the Gauss rifle's better range over snubs, and this thing's slow speed. I would rather have the Gauss rifle because I don't have to try and get within 9 hexes.
Fair.
Okay.
But I like where you were at.
Yeah. So this guy was seen in 3070 and has a battle value of 2185 and a point value of 56.
And I will take 2, please.
Once I get Comstar on the line, I'll let you know.
Seriously, let's get the production model here. Smuggle it out from underneath the Ill Clan. We'll build it in the periphery.
A fine tradition of your people.
Yes.
So next up we have the Highlander 2C2, seen in 3072, and it has the movement profile of 353. It has an ACM in the head. It's got an ATM 6 in the right torso. It has 3 ER medium lasers in the left torso. It's got a Gauss rifle in the right arm, and in the left arm it has a Streak SRM 6 and 6 anti-personnel Gauss rifles.
Ooh la la.
It has 11 double heat sinks and endo steel.
Did you say it had 1 or 3 ATM 6s?
I might have said 1 when I meant to say 3. Yeah, so it can throw 18 missiles in a single turn from its right torso.
Which is 54 damage with high explosive?
Yep. I believe that's right. And it's got 1 ton of that. It's got 1 ton of extended range and 1 ton of standard.
Yeah.
It also has 3 tons of ammo for the Gauss rifle in the right arm. And, there's also a ton of ATM standard in the left torso, which I missed. Apologies. 1 ton of streak in the left, as well as 1 ton for the AP Gauss rifle in the left torso, which is 40 shots. And so, that'll add up quickly with 6, shooting each turn.
Yeah, you get 6 shots and then for all, and then 4 of them get to shoot one last time.
And like the AP Gauss rifle has a heat of 1 and a damage of 3, and the range profile of 0.369.
Yeah.
So that seems very. It seems like a worthy successor to the machine gun.
Yeah.
Yes. Still doesn't have real world machine gun ranges, but
It's trying.
at least it's not 1, 2, 3 now.
Yeah.
The damage profile's great on it. Honestly, I would drop that 4th ton of ATM ammo for a 2nd ton of AP Gauss ammo. But
Fair for when you get in right close.
well, dealing with infantry, you said they're 3 damage each, right?
Yeah.
So that's 18 points of damage that you can crit seek with out to 9 hexes.
You've basically made a short range rotary AC, right?
Yeah, or
Mm-hmm.
a slightly better SRM-6.
Yeah, that is a interesting way to look at it, and I don't disagree. And of course, we're back to the Highlander 2C art, which is great.
This thing's a pain in the butt to shift from where it wants to be. I've fought them before. Once they set up in a spot, you have to dig them out because it's a Highlander and they have a lot of armor, so you can't just shoot at them because they'll just absorb the damage. But then when you go to dig them out, you get a face full of AP Gauss rifles and then a face full of 18 high explosive ATMs.
And let's not forget, HE ATMs are also 3 points of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're getting 6 shots of AP Gauss at 3 points each. You're getting 18 shots of ATM HE, which is 3 each. And then you've got a streak 6 for 6 more locations of 2 points of damage each.
Yeah, this can dish out a lot of firepower in a turn.
He really wants to open stuff up with that Gauss rifle and then crit seek all day long.
Mm-hmm. But he's also going to get very toasty if he does that.
Clan mech warriors. They're easy bake anyway.
So this guy's got a battle value of 29.28 and a point value of 57. We then come to the Highlander 2C3 in 3077. And this guy has the 353 movement profile. It's got 24 double heat sinks. It's got that ECM suite in the head. It's got an LRM 20 with Artemis 4 in the right torso. It's got 3 medium pulse lasers in the left torso. And it's got a HAG 20 in the right arm with 2 streak SRM 6s in the left arm. It's got 4 tons of ammo for the LRM, 1 ton for the streak, and 3 tons for the HAG.
I like that both of these two have ECM. I think E-War needs to be more important. I'm also curious, which of these two do you think Tara Campbell is going to get?
Probably the 3.
I feel like, the HAG seems like her kind of machine, or her weapon system.
That's kind of sexist.
No, it's just because she likes throwing out a lot of lead and chopping through things with her hatchet.
A likely story.
Just because she's a female pilot doesn't mean you should give her the HAG.
Moving on.
The only thing I would change on this one is dropping a ton of the LRM 20 ammo to give it Artemis 5. That's the only thing I could think of that would make this better.
Fair. And it also has Pharaoh. I think I did not mention that. So
I like the 2 better.
fair. I mean, I think they are both very good machines.
Clans cheat.
Well, with a battle value of 3001 and a point value of 57, cheat or pay through the nose.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
Yeah. We then come to the final Highlander of our episode, the HGN-740, seen in 3115. And this guy has the new art from the Recognition guy, I believe. It is a Recognition guy.
It does, yes.
Yes. And it's got definitely more industrial, kind of blocky. It's taken the right arm and gone back to that traditional barrel of the Highlander, unlike the 2Cs, but now instead of having kind of like spikes protecting over it, it's kind of got a almost like crab claw, like from the crab and the king crab protecting it.
It's really a blend of the 2C and the traditional, because it's bifurcated like the original, but it's more vertically oriented and kind of encasing the Goths, like the 2C art.
Yeah, the legs definitely have a more kind of humanoid standard look to them, but they definitely still look reinforced. So that is pretty neat. And I like that the left hand is completely articulated and kind of free of the gauntlet now, too.
I think those reinforced panels are actually Battlemech Claymores.
Are you talking about the M-Pods?
The M-Pods.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. My one complaint about this art is that the head doesn't look like it can turn anymore.
That's fair, but they've really been moving away from heads that rotate.
Yeah, they're much more integrated now.
In the art, I'm trying to figure out what's stepping on. It looks, I can't tell.
I'm pretty sure this art is from cover of Battle of Two Kid. You know what I mean. Hold on.
Wrong Two Kid book. Hold on. Multiple? Nah, different art. The one in the Two Kid book, it's firing a missile salvo.
Fair enough, but at a glance, you can see why I would think that.
Yeah, looks good either way.
Weapons profile?
Let's see.
I got Brent off on a tangent. Don't worry.
I want to talk about how much I dislike its weapons.
Go for it. Just absolutely go for it. Yeah, no, I had to look up the cover just because I was like, no, how close is it? It is remarkably close, but it is definitely a different angle and slightly different pose or perspective. Sorry, you were saying.
Yes, this guy's got 4 M-Pods, 2 in each leg, a single streak SRM-6, a single ERPPC, an LRM-20 with Artemis 4, and 2 ER medium lasers. Standard fusion engine, standard gyro, light ferro armor, 353, and it just feels puny.
You just don't think it has the weight the other models do?
Yeah, you're doing a little bit better. Actually, you're about the same as the Succession Wars version with the AC-10 or the PPC.
Yeah.
And I mean, your LRM-20 has Artemis now, so that makes it that a bit better. And your ERPPC doesn't have a minimum range, so that's better. But you compare it to the Gauss rifle variants, your big gun has 5 less points of damage. You're missing
Unless you kick
a
on the
medium
capacitor.
laser. It does.
Sorry, did you say
capacitor.
kick it? Did you say kick in or put in? Because I heard kick in, and I'm like,
kick in the capacitor. It's got a capacitor on it.
No, it
right
doesn't.
arm. It does.
Nope.
double heatsink, light ferro, roll again.
In the wording up top, it says it has a capacitor.
It doesn't have one in the stats. At least it doesn't have one on the record sheet.
And then on Megamech, it also has the capacitor, but that's surprising.
Hold
it
on.
might be one of those ones like the Crucible. The Crucible's in this one too, isn't it? Yeah. So this recognition guide had a lot of issues when it released.
Okay,
Like
so it's supposed to have
it
a
has some
capacitor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like one of the Crucibles, which is another mech that released in this record sheet, and we'll get there 5 million years in the future. Audience, don't worry, we'll get there one day. I think it's like 3 tons short of like weight. It's just missing weight. Or no, the Crucible 2, it has 2 LRM-15s and no ammo for them.
Okay, so there's some stuff. Is there anything else missing, or is it just the capacitor?
It's just the capacitor.
Okay. Well, I mean, that capacitor definitely helps that ERPPC contend because, you're going back up to the same damage profile as the Gauss rifle, but you're going to definitely be hotter.
Well, it's got 15 double heat sinks, which is the most heat sinkage I think we've seen on any of these variants, certainly of the Inner Sphere.
Definitely.
So, yeah, you should still be able to engage your capacitor, your LRM-20 with Artemis, and even jump and still not wreck your heat. So, yeah, okay. I guess that's not as bad as it seemed at first, because now it's basically a Royal variant Highlander in terms of capacity or capabilities, but it doesn't have ammo restrictions on its main gun, and it adds in M-Pods, which I've never played with those, but...
Sadly, neither have I.
Essentially, take them as one-shot LB-20X clusters.
They did 15 points of damage.
That seems good.
In melee. You just randomly are just like, yeah, this is being shot.
So, you DFA, and you trigger those to slow your descent?
Pretty much.
All right, okay. I can see it. I'm still not thrilled, but I can see it.
We'll file this one under needs further testing. How about that?
Works for me.
Yeah, I would be a lot more thrilled about this one if that was a clan ERPPC.
Fair.
But it also fills a slot.
It is available. Oh, it's available to Periphery General.
Yeah, because it's all just... It's essentially standard tech. I think the only thing that's kind of fancy is the case 2 and the PPC capacitor.
Capellan, Lyran, Mercenary, Periphery.
Yeah, the 740 fills a role that we haven't seen in a lot of the more modern Highlanders of having a PPC as the main weapon. Because all the other ones have gone towards the Gauss, which there's reasons why, and it's mostly heat savings. Being a 90-ton mech, it can kind of just be like, okay, I'm just going to give, 17 tons of my weight to this weapon with its ammo, and then just ignore it, essentially. Whereas this one's like, now we're going to go with the ERPPC with the capacitor, and then take a couple extra heat sinks.
Which also still works because you have all that tonnage to play with.
Yeah, and it doesn't really sacrifice anything to do it. As I think with the ERPPC and the capacitor and the couple extra heat sinks compared to like the 734, you're still breaking less weight than a LB20 or Gauss rifle at that point compared to the normal amount of heat sinks of like 13 or 14.
Well, this guy has a battle value of 2232 and a point value of 50. So definitely much more in line with its Succession War era guys, I guess. It's not quite up to, or I guess the original is the closest, because the original and the Royal is kind of where this falls, which is fair because it's just the PPC version of them, right?
Yeah, with giant mech claymores attached to the legs, because that's where you want those.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be funny, you get a light running up to try and kick you, and then you just, oh, you want to kick me? Here, eat a mech pod.
Yeah, eat 15 damage. Have fun.
Now, how do the pod's arcs go? Are they like 360 or are they directional?
I think they're directional off the front since they're attached to the legs.
Okay, so they're just leg-mounted weapons then.
Yes. So they have a range band of 1, 2, 3, and then it drops damage off as you get farther out. So 1 hex out, it does 15, 2 hexes out, it does 10, 3 hexes out, it does 5. It's really designed to, you knock someone over and then just M-pod. Just absolutely devastate someone, because it's 15 points of damage that's almost always going to hit because you're right next to them.
Definitely neat, and definitely a cool model to finish looking at the Highlander on in this episode.
I think it's really cool that it's a Periphery mech, too.
Yeah. Is it like made in the Periphery, or is it just available to the Periphery?
I'm not sure. I'm not looking at the recognition guide, but the fact that it's Periphery General tells me that there are manufacturing locations in the Periphery, because usually you don't get Periphery General unless 2 or 3 Periphery states have manufacturing capabilities out there.
Nice.
So it is produced on Son Hoa, which is awkwardly a independent planet that used to be part of the Lyran Commonwealth.
Oh.
So it is technically part of the Periphery because it's out in the Periphery areas. Like, it's north of the Marian hegemony by not much. Like, it's a pretty easy couple jumps from the Marian hegemony.
Well, I was right. There's at least one manufacturing plant in the Periphery.
There you go.
I think this one's a really good example of what they're trying to do with some of the mechs introduced in the recognition guides. They're not trying to make these, extremely high-tech, cutting edge,
elite of the elite.
Yeah, mech stomping machines. They're trying to make something that's a bit more flavorful and introduces something that doesn't already exist. Because all the other Highlanders are all pretty high-tech, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Which is probably why the Highlander didn't get a large, 3+ model introduction. It just got a 1 model and a little blurb on a page with a couple other mechs.
And some pilots.
Yeah. And then knowing the Highlander, it'll probably get a bunch of variants in the future just because it's a Highlander.
I'm kind of surprised there's no rocket launcher Highlander yet.
Fair.
Recognition guide 16.
They don't do that, right? Once a mech is in a recognition guide, it doesn't show up in another recognition guide, right?
I don't know.
They have not said that they won't, and we have not seen anyone repeat, so we're assuming no. I doubt that they would show back up. That wouldn't make any sense. Granted, a Highlander 2C might show up.
It's true. Of course, that would be the 2C4. Kaboom.
We skipped that one. I'm just kind of sad that the Thunderbolt recently came out in the recognition guide. So there's a couple variants we didn't talk about in our Thunderbolt episode, but none of the new ones are 5.8. None of them have light engines. They just kind of feel
sad.
Yeah.
So for pilot profiles today, we have our first pilot of Major Angilang Kanak, or Katanak, sorry. Apologies for probably butchering that name. They served as a lieutenant during the Operation Serpent. During the action, her family Highlander was destroyed. Once the smoke cleared, she was requisitioned a Highlander 2C as a replacement. During the Jihad, she, like most of her fellow Northwind Highlanders, were bottled up on Northwind. But once the blockade was broken, she joined Operation Scour and dropped into Sydney with her company. There she was the sole survivor of her unit as the Blakist fought with a bloodthirsty savagery. After she remained active until the conquest of Terra was complete, she then retired and passed on her Highlander 2C to her daughter, Dorin Katanak. During her retirement on Northwind, she was plagued by constant nightmares and received treatment for PTSD. Sadly, she would not escape the horrors of her past, and one morning she woke and walked into the Buchanana Valley Nature Preserve. Her body was sadly never recovered.
Next up, we have Colleen Schmidt. Colleen Schmidt was part of the Royal Blackwatch Regiment, so definitely one of the best. And her grandmother was Colonel Hahn Schmidt, who was the last commander of the Royal Blackwatch Regiment. Her name actually translates directly from Irish Gaelic to girl, so ironically her name is Girl Schmidt. I don't know. That was just a fun fact for the day. Being the granddaughter, she was practically indoctrinated by the tales of service of Colonel Hahn Schmidt in the Blackwatch and immediately joined the SLDF when she came of age. She was on Terra when Staffan Amaris seized control in 2766, and unfortunately, her grandmother would die in a nuclear strike from the Amaris coup. Her and her family would go to ground in the Cascade Mountains of North America and would be part of the resistance for the entirety of the Amaris Civil War. Eventually, she made the difficult decision to join Operation Exodus with General Alexander Kerensky, even though she was deeply torn over her loyalty to her homeland of Wales and her new Star League family. After they settled the Pentagon Worlds, after the Exodus, she was relatively disconnected from events until the Civil War, which she then threw her entire support behind Alexander Kerensky's son, Nicholas Kerensky, and the second Exodus to Stranomecti. Eventually, she would trial to be part of the new clan system and would even become the new Khan of Clan Blood Spirit, and would leave quite the mark on that clan, which we will cover during a deep dive on the foundation of Clan Blood Spirit. Mm-hmm. She would be part of the fighting of Operation Klondike, and then eventually would become disillusioned with the clans after the destruction of Clan Wolverine. She would eventually die fighting off Clan Barak on the planet of York. And it is said that she screamed vile curses at her enemies during all the fight and would eventually succumb to her wounds. Thoroughly a badass.
Do not go quietly into that night.
She did not. She screamed very angrily and used very choice words.
Next up, we have Colonel Porthos Argyle Jamestown Stansfield Turner. No one really knows where he's from, or his background, or his training, or anything about Colonel Porthos Stansfield Turner, or Colonel Stans, as he tells everyone to call him. All we know is he appeared in 3048 on Procyon to fight the evil overlords. He's flamboyant, and most people assume he's insane. Nonetheless, he's a popular figure on Procyon, and if his publicist or self-promotion can be believed, he has single-handedly taken down scores of Blakists. Okay, so maybe he didn't appear in 3048.
Neo-Blakists.
And they're... Well, so he's from technical readout 3050 upgrade, but apparently he's fighting Blakists, so not sure exactly when he pops out then. However, there are Trivid recordings of him destroying 5 different Word of Blake mechs, all of them lighter than his Highlander, each of which he killed using his own unique style of Highlander burial. I'm picturing an elbow from the ropes.
From the top of the skyscraper
He's
with
on
the
the
steel
top
chair.
turnstile.
From the top of the office block with a semi-truck.
No, it can't be.
Oh my god, he
That's
broke his
Highlander
back.
music. So, listeners, listen intently for the wrestling podcast that is clearly going to spin on. No, don't hold me to that.
Mech wrestling podcast, maybe.
Yeah.
Every mech's signature move.
I expect you to wear tights for that podcast. Spandex tights.
I'm out. Nope.
Next up, we have Lieutenant Paul Gothard, and Paul is the leader of a small mercenary command that he started with the backing of his family's wealth. After he got fed up with the politicking, gossiping, and ineptitude of the Larian Commonwealth Armed Forces Command, he stuck it out in the periphery to earn his fortune and has been quite successful in anti-pirate operations. Since the Larian Commonwealth, and really the entire Inner Sphere, has had troubles after Grey Monday, he has taken more and more contracts to help protect his homeland, and it appears he and his unit's skills as anti-pirate forces will be in high demand for some time to come.
The periphery. Land of opportunity.
Where you make money or die. Probably die, but you could make money.
Was it Comes los dos?
Yeah. Por qué no los dos?
Okay, so yes, that's it.
I mean, the periphery hasn't had 4 succession wars.
No, it just has that Reunification War 2 Electric Boogaloo coming up.
The war of wolf aggression.
Yeah. The War of Ward Aggression.
Yeah.
WWA.
The War of Clan Aggression.
I think that already happened.
Yeah.
Part 2. Part 3? Part 3. Next up, we have Sakon Cal Jorgensen of Clan Widowmaker. Well, actually, I should pause and say he was Sakon, then he was Khan, but then before everything, he wasn't Khan. So, backing up, Cal Jorgensen, who is related to the future Sakon of Clan Ghostbear, Hans Jorgensen, appeared during the beginning of Operation Klondike as part of Clan Widowmaker. His projection on life, however, would change with the assassination of the first Sakon of Clan Widowmaker, Mariel Sanders, by a disguised gunman during the invasion of the Pentagon clusters by the nascent clans. And Cal Jorgensen, with all of his charm and brashness and very nice behavior, and not very nice behavior, was elected as the new Sakon. His election would immediately cause lots of strain between the other clans associated with Clan Widowmaker during the invasion, Clan Goliath Scorpion and Clan Fire Mandrill, as he was not a very nice person and was very abrasive. After the annihilation of Clan Wolverine during the Wolverine treachery, the Khan of Clan Widowmaker, Clan Karagi, I can pronounce, would be killed, and Jorgensen would eventually be elevated to the senior Khan of the Widowmakers. However, during this entire process, the Widowmaker merchant caste was getting, let's say, unhappy with the way they had been treated. Looking at the way Clan Wolf had been treating their merchants and seeing them as having more freedom than they did, they would eventually stage a form of insurrection against the warriors of Clan Widowmaker. This would, of course, not go well for them, as Widowmaker's warriors are warriors and the merchants are, well, not. This would eventually end up being a lead to the Wolf Khan demanding a trial of absorption, and Khan Jorgensen would, of course, demand a trial refusal to try to continue his clan's existence. And that would seal the fate of Clan Widowmaker. As during that trial refusal, Khan Jorgensen himself would accidentally, in air quotes, or not in air quotes, depending on who you ask, would shoot Nicholas Kerensky's Atlas in the face with his Highlander and kill him on the field of battle.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer psychopath.
It couldn't have happened to anyone nicer, right? This would, of course, enrage the remaining wolves on the field, and they essentially pass judgment on the Widowmakers, with the rest of the clan council agreeing with them. And the Widowmakers' trial of absorption that they were trying to refuse would eventually almost turn into a trial of annihilation, with very few Widowmaker warriors making it out alive. But luckily for Natasha Kerensky, their genetic legacy would survive, as she is supposedly, or is, descended from Widowmaker genetics. Good job, Cal Jorgensen. Way to not mess everything up.
So, for our data dive today, we are going to look at one of the most venerated units in the history of the Inner Sphere and beyond, the Blackwatch.
Cue the bagpipes.
Has appeared in almost every universe humanity is in.
Nemo me impune licetus. I don't speak Latin, so I probably butchered that, but that is the motto of the Blackwatch, and translated it means, no one provokes me with impunity. The Blackwatch were, and forever will be burned into the history of the Inner Sphere. To say the Blackwatch is unique in history is false, but they do belong to a pantheon few can lay claim to. The Praetorian Guard, the ancient Persian immortals, and the Janissaries of the Ottoman Empire can all be said in the same breath as the Blackwatch, and no party would be diminished. The Blackwatch are, of course, Highlanders, and trace their origins alongside the Northwind Highlanders. Their origins date all the way back to 1725 as a volunteer militia to keep the peace. The black in their name comes from the black tartan they wore as a uniform, and in 1739 they were officially confirmed and folded into the military and given the designation the 43rd Regiment of Foot, but kept the previous designation as a nickname. In 1881, they combined with the 73rd Regiment of Foot, and the unit was rechristened the Royal Highlander Regiment, the Blackwatch. In 1931, the name would be reversed, so they became the Blackwatch, the Royal Highlander Regiment.
It's not confusing at all.
I know. We then jump forward to when the Highlanders are being disbanded and emigrated to Northwind with Clan Stewart. The Blackwatch was not disbanded, but was retained and continued to be diminished over time. The saving grace or benevolent benefactors over the decades was that of House Cameron. They valued the history and prestige of the unit, and so whenever possible maneuvered the situation for the Blackwatch to be their honor guard. In exchange for this support, many soldiers swore an oath of fealty to the Cameron line, and it is important to note that it is still in the time of the Terran Alliance. Before the Star League, Ian Cameron schemed, planned, and plotted in order to realize his dream. But Ian, like many great individuals throughout history, understood the importance of symbols and cultural mythology. And so, in the run-up to the founding of the Star League, he formed the Royal Blackwatch Regiment, with the previous Blackwatch forming the core of the new unit. With the formation of the Star League, the Royal Blackwatch Regiment would be, of course, in charge of protecting the royal family, and were held as an example to embody the traditions, heart, and soul of the Star League. Obviously, the news of the SLDF and the Royal Blackwatch Regiment sent ripples across the Inner Sphere, and Northwind was very much swept up in the waves, as the 6 Highlander regiments kept their oral histories alive, and their traditions a core of their identity. Many mercenaries left to join the SLDF and the Blackwatch specifically, wanting the prestige and stability after years of the mercenary lifestyle. This they got and gave back to the Blackwatch. An additional note is that the de facto rule of the Blackwatch is that you had to be a graduate of the Gunslinger program. You now have a unit that is supplied with the best equipment, the best training, and the best candidates, and literally the best of everything. On top of that, they are utterly committed to their task and ideals. This is why the Blackwatch is the best of the best, and some of the scariest soldiers to ever set foot on the battlefield. Human motivation can be broken down to Marie: monetary, addiction, religion, ideology, and ego. And we can see that all of the Blackwatch were ideologues. For better or worse, the most dangerous people in the universe are always true believers. During the Star League, many members of the Blackwatch and the Highlanders' 6 regiments would share and have personnel transfer between organizations, raising all organizations' clout and status. Stewart's regiment and the Blackwatch would have the largest number of personnel exchanged, leading them to have a particularly strong bond. The Blackwatch protected the Cameron royal family, who were headquartered at the court of the Star League, aka Unity City, in Fort Cameron. They trained and refined their skills for the day they all hoped would never come, the day they had to use those skills to defend or avenge the royal family. Ameris and his coup is too large to talk about here, but this is obviously the inciting incident for the death of the Blackwatch. When Ameris killed Richard Cameron, the control of the security system was not complete, and an alarm did get out. An automated system that monitored for weapon discharge in the royal chambers and throne room was not able to be suppressed, as it was unknown to Ameris, and alerted the sleeping Blackwatch into action. Shortly after the alarm, all of Unity City erupted in chaos, as explosives that had been planted over the last half of a year were detonated. Most devastatingly, an atomic targeted the Fort Cameron. The Blackwatch, under command of Colonel Hanny Schmidt, on duty, formed a blockade on the Gorst Flats, preventing the 4th Ameris Dragoons from entering the city. They would be joined by the survivors of the nuke attack, who were able to gear up and join the fight. The infantry reportedly made its way to the palace, supported by the armor, and the mech warriors made their way to the stand on the flats. The 4th Ameris Dragoons, pickets, and scouts were systematically taken apart by the Blackwatch, as only elite and professional warriors can. The Blackwatch slowly retreated into the city, making the Dragoons pay for every meter of dirt with their lives and Highlander ammo and armor. For the Blackwatch, it was not about stopping the Dragoons or living to fight another day. It was about buying time for the mobile infantry to find the royal family and secure them. Nothing else mattered. Slowly, the Dragoons pressed into the city, trading battalions for city blocks and a single Blackwatch pilot. All the while, the mobile infantry was carving its way through Ameris' guards to the throne room, with zealous disregard for their own safety and an effectiveness that myths grow from. Eventually, the Blackwatch mech warriors were pressed and overwhelmed by the sheer numbers, preventing them from maneuvering. Colonel Henny Schmidt and 3 of the Blackwatch pilots would be the last standing when Ameris troops literally used the nuclear option and used an atomic bomb to kill the 4 remaining Blackwatch mechs and most of the units engaged with them. It is impossible to know how many kills the Blackwatch racked up that day due to the loss of records and Ameris' propaganda, but each Blackwatch pilot taking 10 mechs with them is a very low conservative estimate. We know that Ameris survived, but just barely, for the mobile infantry was quite literally breaking down the doors when Ameris' reinforcements arrived and secured the new dictator. Ameris was enacting a generational plan to take power from the Camerons. They had planned for everything, done all the research they could, had contingencies for their contingencies, and still, it was almost undone by a few Blackwatch warriors too stubborn to give up, too tough to fall down, and too determined to let death stop them. In Unity City, the Blackwatch died doing their duty, defying the odds, and taking every one of their enemies they could with them. And from the ashes of Unity City, the ghost of the Blackwatch haunted Ameris for the rest of his life.
Motivational.
Yeah, I kind of really enjoyed writing that one.
Moral of the story, don't with the Blackwatch.
Ooh. Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Succession Wars TRO and RS, TRO 3075, Record Sheets 3075 Age of War, Operational Turning Point Widowmaker Absorption, Record Sheets Operation Klondike, TRO Clan Invasion, TRO 3050 Upgrades, Record Sheets 3050 Unabridged Clan and Star League, Experimental Tech TRO Comstar, Record Sheets 3060, Record Sheets 3085, Old is the New, Recognition Guide Volume 10, and the Highlander Sourcebook and the Liberation of Terra Volume 1. This podcast is made possible by our supporters on patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs, link in the description. Our social media on Twitter is @Origin of Mechs. We also have a community Discord, the Armory of Ouroboros, link in the description. You can email us at ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your platform of consumption, tell your friends about us, and share on your community platform of choice. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro. Last dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Peace out, mech warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
It is the spiciest.
Craig's
of
been really
meatballs.
good recently.
Mm-hmm.
Craig was really
We
good last
appreciate that,
week.
Craig.
He's really good this week. Craig, I'm giving you a raise. We're going to change your head gel stuff twice a week now.